Looking back, I remember living with Louis. Those days are now like faded pictures in my mind. I was 33, having spent 14 years with him. Louis was a primary school teacher. We had 2 lovely sons, Mark, 13, and Daniel, 6. Our home was in an old part of Lyon. Our small apartment, near the Rhone River, was full of morning light. The sound of birds and the soft murmur of the river made it very peaceful. In those days I thought everything was good. I worked in a small city bookshop, loving to read. Louis always came home with gifts and a smile. The children loved him. They waited for him daily, eager to play or listen to his stories after school. But now, I see a hidden secret. I no longer think of Louis or love him, but he was once part of my life. My children and I became stronger through those difficult times. However, that strength took time. It wasn't instant. It took a long while for us to return to a normal life. It all began with small changes in Louis. I slowly noticed shifts in his behavior. He was on his phone more, sending messages at night. If I asked, he quickly turned it off. One day as he showered, his phone rang. A message appeared: "My love, I love you. When can I see you?" My heart raced. My hands started shaking. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was stuck on one question: who sent that message? Next morning, when Louis came for breakfast, I calmly asked, "Louis, I saw a message on your phone. Someone wrote, 'I love you.' Who is it?" His face went pale. He suddenly grew angry, shouting, "Why are you looking at my phone? Respect my privacy." But I knew something was hidden. At night, while everyone slept, I stayed awake, listening to the children's quiet breaths, my mind filled with many questions. A few days later, Louis was sleeping. I quietly took his phone. Many messages were between him and someone named Adriana. There were pictures of them together in Lyon cafes and city parks. My heart broke. Tears quietly fell from my eyes. Louis woke up. He saw me. Angrily he yelled, "Why are you checking my phone? This is not your business." But I couldn't stay silent anymore. With a shaking voice I said, "I know you are with Adriana. Why did you lie to me?" Louis was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, I am friends with Adriana. She's an art teacher, my colleague. But this doesn't affect our life." I knew that wasn't true. I felt my world falling apart. Later, friends told me Adriana had worked at Louis's school for years. They said they had been close for a long time. Adriana was well dressed, with short brown hair and strong eyes. She always had a smile. She was the kind of woman who draws everyone's attention. I couldn't help comparing myself to her. On social media I found her paintings, exhibitions, and quotes about freedom, love and art. She had a world I never belonged in. I was an introverted woman, devoted to my family. She was outgoing, devoted to herself. I felt small, as if I had lost an unfair, unwanted competition. One night after the children slept, I stared at Adriana's photos for hours. I wondered, how could Louis have fallen in love with her? Later, Louis's colleague said something disturbing. They saw them almost daily after school. Sometimes they visited art galleries, sometimes they talked for hours in quiet cafes. I even heard Adriana, a talented painter, painted a portrait of Louis. She displayed it in one of her exhibitions. This thought hit me hard. Was that man the same man I had lived with for 14 years? One day I decided to see for myself. Without telling anyone, I went to Adriana's exhibition. The gallery was filled with light, paint and soft classical music. Paintings shone on the white walls. My eyes found a painting of a man walking by the river. Familiar clothes, a familiar pose. Under the painting it said, "Memories." My breath caught. That man was Louis. My eyes filled with tears. Without a word I left. From that day it was clear their relationship was more than a simple liking. They were 2 similar souls, both loved art, talking and dreaming. But did this mean his love for me was over? Or was it just lost in another world? The next day I talked to Leah. I told my best friend everything. She was quiet, then took my hand and said, "Sophie. This is very hard, I know. You are not alone. Whatever you decide, I am with you. Be honest. If you still love him, talk to him. Not talking creates distance." That night after the children slept, I sat with Louis. I said, "I want to keep our family together. Do you want that too?" Louis looked away. "I don't know," he said. "I feel I don't belong to you anymore. Maybe we should be apart." My tears flowed. A moment later, Mark, hearing me cry, quietly entered. He looked worried. "Mom, what happened? Are you fighting? Dad's not leaving, right?" Words stuck in my throat. I just hugged him. Daniel woke and cried. That night our home was full of tears, worry and a heavy silence. If you found this part of the story interesting, please like, comment and subscribe to my channel. This shows your support and encourages me to continue. Louis packed his suitcase a few days later. He said he was leaving. I sat on the sofa, watching him. He came closer. He kissed the boys goodbye and said, "I am really sorry." Then he opened the door and left. I heard his car driving away. After that, a heavy silence fell over the house. The next days were the hardest of my life. In the mornings I made breakfast for the children, trying to smile, but inside I was broken. Mark started missing school. One day I sat in his room and talked to him. He quietly said, "I thought Dad would always stay." I hugged him and whispered, "We are still a family, Mark. It's just a different kind of family now." Daniel kept crying, asking, "Where is Dad?" I tried to calm him with drawing and reading. Sometimes turning pages, my eyes would stare, my mind wandering far away. One day, returning home from the bookshop, I saw Louis and Adriana at a cafe. They were laughing, carefree. I stopped and watched. Louis looked up. For a moment our eyes met. I quickly turned away and walked off. When I got home, I locked the door. I sat on the floor and cried quietly. But that image of Louis smiling with another woman stayed in my mind. He didn't even know the ache he'd left behind in our hearts. Days passed and I slowly learned to live alone. With Leah and my family I started working again. Mark went back to school. Daniel slowly got used to his father not being there. Every night I read stories to the kids, made their favorite meals and tried to make our home feel warm and happy. As time went on, I slowly found refuge in books again. They were always a safe place. I still worked at the small bookshop nearby. It was a quiet place, smelling of paper and wood, like another world. One evening a man entered the bookshop. He walked slowly. He carefully looked at the shelves. He had gray eyes and wore a gray jacket. When he reached the counter, he smiled. "Do you have a book about Renaissance paintings?" he asked. His name was Alexander. He was a painter. The second time he asked for Italian art history. The third time he started talking. He said he missed deep conversations. We began discussing Leonardo, light in Van Gogh's art, memory and imagination. We talked for hours about art and history. After a while, I felt like someone finally understood me. Alexander slowly entered my life. Not loudly, but with his calm and understanding presence. He spoke of his wife who had died years ago. He said art was the only thing that kept him going through those hard days. One rainy evening we went to an old cafe. The cafe was warm with wooden tables, steamy windows, and soft piano music. We sat by the window. Outside rain fell endlessly on the street. For moments we just listened to the rain. Then Alexander spoke of his memories, days he thought life had no meaning. He spoke of the moment he could see colors in his paintings again. He said, "Sometimes pain forces us to rebuild ourselves. Not as before, but with more understanding." Life is always full of ups and downs, but never lose hope. Even when nothing is right. I also spoke. About days I swallowed tears to smile for my children. About fear, tiredness, and moments I thought I couldn't continue. He listened. Without judging, without rushing. He just listened. The children liked Alexander too. Mark once asked him to draw his portrait. Alexander drew it carefully and patiently. Daniel, who usually struggled with strangers, was calm near him. Kindness seemed to radiate from Alexander. Even the children felt it. I don't know where this relationship will go. Maybe just a friendship, maybe more. But I'm not afraid of not knowing now. Now I know I can trust someone again, and more importantly myself. Looking back, my path, though difficult, was full of learning. My children and I laughed again. Our home was noisy again, not with arguments and heartbreak, but with turning pages, laughter, and sometimes rain. Rain falling on the window, reminding us that even dark clouds eventually move away. One morning I sat by the window, coffee in hand. I realized I no longer thought of Louis. I thought of the future, of Mark, of Daniel, and of a woman who had found herself again. Life always goes on. Sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. But there is always a way for light. And maybe, just maybe, love is coming. Love that will want me as I am, with all my failures and all my beauty. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. If you liked this story, please like it, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for future stories.